Without further ado, let us embark on the next leg of our intellectual journey. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Samia Roshni, Assistant Professor at Adams University. Uh, Shamedi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So on behalf of BASE, I am Samia Roshni, going to introduce the session chair, Dr. Rafat Ali of Session 2, invited lecture 1 of the two-day international conference on Muslim life and culture in colonial Bengal. Dr. Rafat Ali is an associate professor at the Department of English, Jadavpur University. He has completed his early education in Kalimpong and Sikkim and higher education in Kolkata. He has obtained his PhD from Jadavpur University, working on the representation of Islam and the Muslim world in medieval and early modern travel writing. He has since then contributed to this area of study through various publications in the form of articles and book reviews in various peer-reviewed journals and books, as well as conference papers at national and international conferences, panel discussions, special lectures, and as resource person at civil refresher courses and workshops. He is currently co-editing the themed issue of Jadavpur University Essays and Studies, Volume 36, on Death, Dying and Diseases, Critical Reflections and Narrative Faith, Volume number 38. Now I would like to hand over the online platform to Dr. Rafat Ali, the chair of the session. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shamia, for that introduction. Very generous of you. All right. My task today is to introduce and moderate this panel, the first plenary, I guess. First of all, I would like to thank the Bengal Academia for Social Empowerment for inviting me to chair this session. And I would also like to commend BASE for its brilliant work in the research in this area of Muslim studies, Islamic studies, and this for organizing this very relevant conference today on Muslim life and culture in Bengal. I have a very beautiful memory of speaking for the previous seminar on, I think it was on homelessness and belonging, where I was talking about interfaith dialogue and the role of the church in initiating, not the state, but the church in initiating dialogue between faith communities. We have another very interesting seminar this time. Unfortunately, because of my prior engagements, I could not commit to any paper, but I'm thankfully here to take part in your discussions. So without much ado, let me very quickly introduce the speaker of this session for today, Dr. Sheikh Mehedi Hasan, who has a PhD in English from FLU, which he completed with the prestigious SARC scholarship in 2010-2013. He is currently Associate Professor in the Department of English Language and Literature and Director, Research and Extension Center, Jatiya, Kabi, Kazi, Nazrul Islam University, Bangladesh. He is the founder editor of Dialogics and executive editor of the Journal of Nazrul University, JKKNRU. He works as an international advisor, ASEAN Multidisciplinary Research Journal and ASEAN Journal of Basic and Higher Education, Philippines, and international member, Telangana Journal of English Studies, India. He is a reviewer of Cogent Arts and Humanities, Routledge, Alphabet, Indonesia, and several other peer-reviewed journals. He has published and presented research papers widely in national and international indexed journals and conferences. He has organized national and international conferences, was the convener of the first international conference on humanities and social sciences at JKKNIU. in 2022. His first book, this is what I find particularly interesting in our speak today, since I belong to the English department myself. His first book, Introduction to Poetry, Rhetoric and Prosody, was published in 2006. His latest book, South Asian Novel in English, Remapping Post-Colonial Identities in the New World. Now, this is Dr. Hasan's latest book, Remap the South Asian Novel in English, Remapping Post-Colonial Identities in the New World Order, adapted from his doctoral thesis, which is due for publication. He is a translator mainly from Bangla into English. His latest English translation, Kazi Nazrul Islam's Shiulimala, was published in News India, a renowned literary journal. He is a known poet, so we're looking forward to the poet's deep perspective on his paper today, because the poet, of course, has a deeper, as we all expect and know, that the poet's vision of life is much deeper than, like the layman. So he's known as a poet. 2 books of poetry, Kalir Kongal and Shatabi Amar Swar, were published in Bengali. He is convener of literature, SIG, TESOL, Society of Bangladesh, affiliated with IATFL UK. So with that, I would like to invite Dr. Hasan to present his paper. Dr. Hasan, please go ahead and present your paper. We are looking forward.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your nice introduction. First of all, I'd like to convey my thanks and gratitude to the organizers of this 2-day international conference on Muslim life and culture in colonial Bengal. The conference is organized by BASE, Bengali Academia for Social Empowerment, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College, Nadia, West Bengal. I'd like to welcome all the dignitaries, the professors, the researchers, research scholars, the students, and all the audience to my lecture today. Already, I think all of you are aware that I'm going to speak on Bengali Muslim, and Muslim Bengali, Reflections on Stereotypes. This is the title of my discussion today. And in fact, it's my humble attempt to share with you some of my thoughts actually and reflections on the topic. And I think you can guess that it's going to be something like something on identity politics, identity issues, and but don't assume that I'm going to present a very scholarly treatise on this topic. Just will discuss. I'll just share some of my thoughts with you through the discussions, and I would like to invite the questions. I mean, that would be very nice and interactional. So in the end of my presentation, then that can be done. Now let me just give you an outline, like what I'm going to do today. I'll continue by focusing on, first of all, the Bengali, the word that first word in my title, and like the demographic, cultural, historical, archaeological, not in detail. I mean, there's some ideas about the Bengali nation and the concept Bengali, the characteristics. And then I'll attempt to pinpoint some of the problematics. I mean, the tensions that centering around those characteristics and the obvious stereotypes. And I would like to draw some references from literature, from history, and then I would try to share my own ideas through my PhD research that I got about the identities of the Bengali. So that would be the things. Okay, so first of all, I would like to draw your attention to some of the stereotypes. Like that is the also another keyword in my title. So what do I mean by that? And what I am going to talk about it. That's important. I think all of you have heard about Taslima Nasrin's one novel, Fera. Taslima Nasrin is very familiar among the Bengali communities, and also, she is popular. She is considered a popular writer globally. So in that novel, I was stuck when I was reading one part in which Kollani was returning from East Pakistan, I mean from East Bengal to West Bengal, who moved to West Bengal at the age of 17. Then she was asked some peculiar questions. She was asked, the people of your country speak Urdu, do they not? She got surprised. She said that, yes, the West Pakistanis speak Urdu. Then the question is asked again, non-Bengalis. She is again surprised. She says, what non-Bengalis? Then another question, I mean the Muslims. Then she is answering, why should they speak in Urdu? They are Bengalis. Then the surprise comes again, Bengalis? So here, in through this conversation, some of the stereotypes I think are obvious. For example, if someone is from East Pakistan, when it happened, before 1971, this part, what we know as Bangladesh, was known as East Pakistan. So someone is from East Pakistan is supposed to speak Urdu. I mean, that person is a Muslim, and if the person is a Muslim, then obviously the person is a non-Bengali and will speak Urdu. So that was the notion among the Bengalis of West Bengal. So that actually surprised me, like what type of notion that is. And actually, when I started my doctoral research, my PhD journey, I went to Hyderabad and I met some of the West Bengalis, I mean the Bengalis from West Bengal and different other communities in India. So I came to know a lot about identity politics and identities, mostly cultural and language identities. Then another novel, all of you also know, that is Sunil's Purbo Poschim. So there also you'll find such type of thing. Like, is he a Muslim? I thought he was Bengali. That is the English translation. That means Bengali, Muslim are two different identities. They're not the same. That is the common notion, among many, not some, many Bengalis, mostly from the Indian part. Okay, another thing, Niroj Chandra Chaudhary is also a familiar person. I'm just giving some examples. There are many, and most of you are aware of these things. Niroj Chandra Chaudhary, he wrote a book, Attogati Bangali. Attogati Bangali. So I was wondering, and I don't know whether you came across anything like that. I mean, you can share at the end of my discussion. Like, did he ever use Bengali to mean the Muslims in any of his writings? I mean, when he referred to Bengali, then obviously that was a Hindu Bengali, I mean, a person. So in Atmagati Bangali or in any other books, or if you think about Rabindranath Tagore, so I don't know whether you came across, like he said someone like who is Muslim, but he calls him Bengali. So these are the things that create some confusions and some debates also. So that is the interest actually that made me think about this topic and to share some ideas of mine. Now I would like to just, this is also known thing, but just to sum up something about the concept of Bengali and the Bengali nation. Like before the British arrived at this part and colonized us, or before 1947, what were the notions? I mean, all of you will agree with me that Bengali nation is a hybridized nation. I mean, obviously it's hybrid, and it's a matter of wonder that all the races of the world at a point in time entered this part, I mean, this Bengal, the greater Bengal. They came here. They came here on different purposes and they settled down here. They mixed with these people. So we, the Bengalis, have inherited the characteristics of all the races of the world. If you mention Negroid or Mongoloid, Caucasoid, you know, Austric nation, so all the races. This is one thing. So some in Bengali, sometimes it's called Shankara nation, Shankar Jati, something like that. Bangala, this word, I think it was first used during the Sultani period. And also Bengali, another important thing, Bengali people were ruled by many races and many nations. They're ruled by different rajas, different kings in the old time, Shen, and and also by the British, by the Arabs, by the Turkish people, by the Iranian people, even by the Africans. So, but the systematic nation building, I mean, the Bengali as a nation and the name Bangala or Bangalis. So far from history, we come to know that happened during the Sultani time. The Sultani state of Bangla. That time, the systematic and in an organized way, in a systematic way, the Bengali nation building was going on. And also the Bangla language was patronized and developed. The poets who were writing in Bengali were patronized by the state. And also, after that, during the Mughal period, also the Bengali nation developed, and the Bengali language and also Bengali calendar and name of the Bangla months and the festivals regarding Poila Boishak and other festivals. So those things, were introduced, and uh, cultural aspects, cultural components of Bengali became prominent during that time. Also, if we mention the foods and different other cultural trends and norms, then also from that Mughal culture and the Mughal period. For example, that the different Iranian dishes, different biryani, you can mention different Indian cuisines, and also like battle leaf, tobacco, and also adda, this type of adda, the meeting, informal meeting, jolsha, and also in arts and culture, in music, in literature. So many types of traditions, trends came here, and Bengali people accepted those things and they adapted to that new cultures and new trends. So this way, the Bengali nations are going on, and also we know during the Mughal time or before the British rule, in their courts, in their administration, the ruling system. Both the Bengali Hindus, Bengali Muslims work together. They enjoyed almost the same status. There was no discrimination. At least the state level, at least the national level, there was no communalism. At personal level, the conflict and quarrels, that was a very common thing. Even where human beings live, obviously there would be some quarrel and some conflict even among their brothers. So that was the fact. I think there are some papers. I saw some titles with the paper in this conference that talked about or will talk about the census and the reports and all those things. Some of those things were introduced during the British period. Even the establishment of political parties, the political parties by different religious communities, by the Hindus, by the Muslims. So those the forming of those political parties was directly monitored and patronized by the British rulers. And also they did the census, and they made different reports on the population, and also they arranged the elections. The elections that I can refer to, some elections like 1909, 1919, 1935. So obviously the elections are based on the communal divisions. So what I want to say, I will not make any comment here. I'll refer Shirajul Islam Chaudhuri, Professor Shirajul Islam Chaudhuri. Some of you are familiar with his name. Did very commendable research work in this area. Still here, he's alive. He's the national professor in Bangladesh. Once he was professor at Dhaka University in Bangladesh. In some of his books, he mentioned that before the British rule, there was no communal conflicts in Bengal, especially in Bengal. He mentioned especially the place Bengal. And we know that in 1947, India and Pakistan, these two countries are created. Two states, or two areas, two regions were mostly affected. Bengal is one of them, Punjab and Bengal, which was partitioned. I mean, the line was drawn, and the sort of imaginary map was created and caused a lot of deaths and murders and displacements of millions of people. So that is another issue. So here also I would like to mention something like in Bengali we sometimes say Desh Bhag. In 1947, Desh Bhag happened. I mean, partition in English we use the word partition, and in Bengali use Desh Bhag. One question that always comes to my mind, I don't know whether you think in this way or not, that is, whose Desh? Whose Desh was divided? Whose Desh was partitioned? What does Desh refer to? I mean, this country, this nation. That was a British country. I mean, that was a colony. The name, the British India, you can just say, that, forcefully different regions, different provinces, different states were ruled, dominated, colonized by the British. And, there are so many cultural diversities, even those places like, northeastern states and some hilly tracts, and also Assam, if you think about South India, North India, so many places, Kashmir, so many diversities and cultural differences, and etc., etc. So all those things came under one banner during the British period forcefully. That was not the that was not a natural phenomena. So I always think, like, whose Desh was divided, whose Desh was made Bhag, why it is Desh Bhag. I don't use the word Desh Bhag. That's why I said in 1947, two countries were created, India and Pakistan. That's it. Two independent countries was created. The so-called independence was given, but actually even that was not the independence. That was not the decolonization. I argued this thing long ago in my PhD thesis. I completed my PhD in 2013. from the English and Foreign Languages University. So I wrote all these things in my chapter. So that was not the decolonization, because Lord Mountbatten was still the governor. That was the transfer of power. Even if you go to a good library, I saw those documents. There you'll find different big volumes, transfer of power. All the historical documents, all the evidences are stored there in those documents. Transfer of power. The power was transferred from the British to the neo-colonizers, who are apparently Indians, but who just who were English in their thoughts, in their opinions, in their taste, but by blood they are obviously Indians. So anyway, so that was not the decolonization, that was a sort of recolonization, and that was a transfer of power. That's it. So then in 1947, after that, then the Bengalis of this part, they suddenly they got a country. The name of the country was Pakistan. And this eastern part, I mean, the West Pakistan and East Pakistan, these two wings are created. In between, there was another land, India. So it was a sort of idea, it was a sort of division that you can only imagine. You can only imagine, because that was not pragmatic, that was not practical. How can this country survive? And also, if you consider the dominations and many other things. Okay, I'll go to that part later on. Here, just I want to mention the Bengalis of Indian part and the Bengalis of Bangladesh part have gone through different types of traumatic experiences, different types of traumas and pains and sufferings. So obviously their thoughts and their identity construction are different from each other and not the same. Anyway, so here I just want to mention some facts that happened just before 1947. For example, when the idea came, like the Pakistan should be created for Muslims, at that time, just before 1947, it happened in the beginning of 20th century. That Muslim League was formed in 1906, and all the political activities are going on. Okay, at that time, another thing was very visible. That was the riot, communal riot. So there were riots. There were different activities. Activists were there. So what about Bengal? All of you, I think, and I hope that you went through that book by Chatterjee, that Bengal Divided, and you know that things, history that she, mentions in our book. Also, the great poets, the writers, for example, Bankim Chandra, Ishwar Chandra. So, what were their positions? What are their stands? Did they want sort of united Bengal, the unity of the Bengalis? Sharat Chandra, if you listen to his speech that he gave in 1926 at the Bengal Provincial Conference, you can read that speech. So what will you find? He ruled out any possibility of unity between Hindus and Muslims in Bengal. In Bengal, he specifically stressed the place that in Bengal it's not possible. So Bengal must be divided. If you mention a poet reformer, there is a poet reformer, Harish Chandra from Benares. What he said? He said, who lives in Hindustan, whatever his color and whatever his caste, he is a Hindu. So these types of extremist ideas were prominent, were available just before the partition. The partition was inevitable in a sense, but there are also attempts. I want to mention that. There was a systematic production of communal discourses also. The English patronize all these things. They patronize all these things. Shiraz Islam Chaudhuri, again, I am referring to his comment. He said the British, it was the British who had sown the seeds of communalism. I'm just quoting him. And the British historians, they showed through the census and all other systematic studies and reports that Muslim and Hindu are two different communities. They are other to each other. Muslims and Hindus are not the same. So this way in Bengal, a sort of conflict was created among the Hindus and Muslims. But there was a light of hope that I want to mention. And that actually is something that we need to reflect on. What was the light of hope? The light of hope that was the initiative taken by mainly two persons, Sharad Chandra Bose, who was the founder of Socialist Republican Party, and Hussain Shahid Sohrawardi, the then Chief Minister of Bengal. These two leaders, great leaders, they came up with an idea. But actually they are late. They could have taken this initiative some years ago, some years before, but they were late. And what was the idea? They were demanding a separate country for the Bengalis. They said that Bengali nation, demographically, culturally, linguistically, they are unique nation. And they have a long history, ancient history. They are a very ancient nation. And in history, they had their own country in different phases of history. And their country, their place must not be divided. And they were not identified in terms of religion. So they should be identified in terms of culture, in terms of their shared values and cultures, and language, mostly language. Language is a marker of their unity. So that was the logic. The name of that country would be United Bengal. In United Bengal, there would be no West Bengal, no East Bengal. On Bengal would be there. Then some other leaders also joined them. When Jinnah heard about this idea, he supported. He said, "Okay, you people want a country. I am supporting your demand." Okay, so he said yes. Then they went to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi just tacitly supported it. I mean, like he said, okay, he didn't oppose it, initially supported. So then other leaders joined them, such as Fazlur Rahman, Muhammad Ali, Abul Hashim, Kiran Sarkar Roy, Satya Narayan Bakshi, and they started campaigning. And what was their main motto? I mean, the main theme of their the country, United Bengal, common culture and tradition shared by both Hindus and Muslims of Bengal. And also, both considered the partition of Bengal suicidal. I'm quoting, suicidal to the cause of Indian independence and also to the cause of social progress. And this statement was published in Statesman newspaper on 21st May 1947. And Bengal Muslim League supported the move as it would be in the best interest of its people. That statement was also published in Statesman, 23rd April 1947. But later on, not later on, I mean immediately, the proposal of United Bengal was severely opposed by Hindu Mahasabha and dismissed by Nehru and Sardar Patel. Then What about Gandhi? He initially supported, softly supported, okay, but he withdrew his support. When he was pressurized by Nehru and Patel, then Gandhi withdrew his support. So what was the result? As a result, the Bengali middle and upper middle classes of West Bengal, which were the principal constituencies of the Congress in Bengal, opposed the creation of a socialist united Bengal. So in the West Bengal part, the upper classes and the middle classes, the Zamindar groups, so they oppose it. And they are actually the majority uh, in the Congress of Bengal. So they oppose the creation of a socialist united Bengal. The country would be socialist. That was their idea, that would be socialist in nature. Then the matter was placed before the Bengal Constituent Assembly. When the matter was placed there, the Hindu members voted for the partition of Bengal and a united India. This is very important, thing to think about. The Hindu members of Bengal Constituent Assembly voted for the partition of Bengal and a united India. They said that Bengal should be partitioned, and if Bengal is not parted, then they would join India, which was, according to Murshid, I'm quoting, a sharp contrast to their movement for the annulment of the first partition of Bengal in 1905. So we know that when the first Bengal was partitioned in 1905, what was the move of the Hindu elitists? And what was the move when the matter came like the United Bengal? So that was completely opposite, and it was a sharp contrast. So they proved themselves contradictory. And then what was the role of Bengali Muslims? Bengali Muslims voted for United Bengal. And on another occasion, they voted for the creation of Pakistan. So why did they vote for the creation of Pakistan? They voted for the creation of Pakistan. They said that, okay, if there was United Bengal, then we would join. If there was United Bengal, we would join and would be with you. But if Bengal is divided, then we would join Pakistan, because they could not join India as they are afraid that at the center, the Hindu elitists would be in power and they would be oppressed and they would not get their own country. So that was the reason that they supported Pakistan. But first they supported United Bengal. That was their move. But on the other hand, the Hindu Bengalis, they did not support the idea of United Bengal. If they supported the idea of United Bengal, then there would be an United Bengal. There would be an United Bengal, and obviously that would be a very powerful country and very prosperous country in the world. And the Bengali nation would not have been divided on the basis of religions. Okay, so in any case, through their long suffering and struggle, the peasant classes of East Bengal are committed to attaining national identity, which would reflect their autonomous existence and help them unshackle from the dominance of elite classes. And this is a very important information that we need to reflect on. This part, this East Bengal part, mostly this part was inhabited mostly by the peasant classes, by the farmers. They are the producers of crops and all the food items. They're not the elitists. Mostly the lower middle class people, the workers, they constituted this part of Bengal. And I'm quoting, the voting pattern suggests that they are not committed to the idea of a communal divide, but feared Hindu domination at the center. That just I said. This is the quotation. So they are not committed to the idea of a communal divide, but feared Hindu domination at the center. This was about the Muslims of this part. Anyway, so this political move reflects the fragmented nature of Bengali identity, both for Muslims and Hindus. And it problematizes the explanation with regard to the emergence of Pakistan in terms of a clash of civilizations. Clash of civilizations, this phrase I'm using, because two nations theory, actually, that theory was the earlier version of clash of civilizations. So the explanation, it is problematic. I mean, what was the main, main impulse that drove them to act in a very self-contradictory way? Actually, that Murshid observes and concludes that what was the cause? The conclusion is that the essential struggle between the two communities was for territorial advantages, although other issues such as concern for the preservation of cultural and economic unities also played a role, albeit a small one. So actually, the religion or other issues, culture, those issues are not so important issues. The important issues are economic issues. That was the to get more territories, advantages, economic gains, etc. That was the reason. That was the reason, the capitalistic reasons, you can say. And for those reasons, this Bengal was partitioned. So it was not religion that actually drove them to play that type of role. Anyway, so in short, I just want to mention these issues to make a point that Bengali identities are not so simple, complicated, complex, hybridized, unpredictable. Now, one thing I would like to just ask, have we heard during Pakistani Bengalis, the words like Pakistani Bengalis or Indian Bengalis? Bengalis, essentially, who are Bengalis? Someone who speaks Bangla, mother tongue is Bangla, is a Bengali. Or someone who is Hindu, a Bengali. I mean, these are very problematic ideas. And ironically, this country, this Bangladesh, when this part got independence and Bangladesh was created, then Bengalis, the Bengalis of this part, even not this part, Bengalis of the whole world, they got a country. They got an identity. A country means a lot. So they got an identity. Before that, they didn't have in the recent past. In the ancient time, they had their identities, they had their own countries. But in the recent past, they didn't have. So the country that was not established in terms of communalism, in terms of communal division, but in terms of culture and language. Bangladesh, the country that was established on 4 principles, secularism is one of them. The country was not established in terms of religion. In terms of religion, West and East Pakistan was created, but that didn't last for long. So it's a great lesson for other countries in this Indian subcontinent, like how India was created, how Pakistan was created, and how Bangladesh was created. So Bangladesh was created in such a way so that it can accommodate both. It can accommodate the Bengalis. I mean, it will not discriminate the people on the basis of religion. It will accommodate all the people, all the Bengalis. And Bangladesh is doing that. There are many stereotypes, many misconceptions outside Bangladesh, maybe. But Bangladesh is doing that. And it has set an example. It has set an example in terms of language movement, in terms of cultural diversity, that how different cultures coexist. So another aspect I have forgotten to mention when I was talking about the characteristics of Bengali nation and Bengali identity. Another thing that we know, the traditions mostly Sufism that we know the word, and also some other tradition like Vaishnava tradition, and that Vaishnava tradition mainly through Hinduism, though Hinduism and Vaishnava are not the same, but from that chain. And Sufism and Islam are also not the same, but Sufism entered by the chain of Islam. So these two ideologies, if we now think about the philosophical and ideological characteristics of Bengali, then this Hinduism, uh, Vaishnava and Sufism, these two traditions played a great role in shaping the pluralistic nature of Bengali identity. We know about vowels. There are some researchers I know personally. For example, Dr. Intaz Ali and some other researchers who are involved in base. So they have done a lot of research in those areas. So these two traditions brought some spiritual aspects, some very unique aspects. And here the Bengali people who existed here for a long time, for centuries, they accept it. Bengali, I already mentioned, Bengali is a nation that can accept anything and everything, that can adapt to any new culture. They accept it. And all these aspects created a very complex form of identities for the Bengalis. But one important thing, even Sufis or the Bauls, they remain they some of them call themselves Muslims, but they're marginalized in the mainstream Muslim society. Their identity and existence are often subject to threats from extremist religious groups. But what is the interesting point? Why I am saying this thing? This is a very common thing all of us know. But interesting thing is that many of their beliefs, ideologies, and practices have been synthesized and blended into the beliefs of mainstream Muslims. Think about, if you are a Muslim, think about you and also the other people. Many of our beliefs directly are influenced by the Sufi beliefs, by the Baul beliefs. If you look at the pure Islamic beliefs and our beliefs, you'll find it. But we hate them. We don't accept them. That is the interesting thing. Why I am mentioning this point? I'm mentioning this point because to show that the overlapping of identities. There is always overlap. You cannot call somebody like these are the characteristics of Bengali. These are the characteristics of Hindu. These are the characteristics of Muslim. You will always find a sort of overlapping. And this, if you appreciate and if you understand these types of characteristics, it will help us to become tolerant to diversities, to diverse cultural existence. Anyway, so we also know about like something I want to elaborate on here. For example, folk literature, oral literature, and other narratives in Bengal have been transmitted from generation to generation. The foundation of modern Bengali literature lies in folk narratives, the narratives of Hindu myths and cults, and the supernatural powers of gods and goddesses. For example, the stories of the snake goddess, Manasa Mangal Kappa, as well as the narratives of the supernatural powers of the saints or Sufis, Karbala tragedies, and mystical and spiritual narratives of Muslim devotees or Bauls.
Dr. Hasan, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but since we started a little late, if you can just carry on to 4:15, and then maybe we need to, the organizers need to move on.
Okay. Thank you. Up to
4:15.
15. Okay. So
Yes.
within 3-4 minutes, I need to conclude. Okay. But maybe we'll start session late. Anyway, I'm trying to conclude, just mentioning some other points. I wanted to ask the organizers and the chair of the session to like how much time will I get? I wanted to ask it, but before that you mention it. Thank you. Anyway, so the thing is that to understand the diverse nature of Bengali identities, if you understand it, if you appreciate it, then we can avoid those stereotypes. Those stereotypes can be avoided, and then we'll not say like someone who speaks Bengali, whose mother tongue is Bengali, but he is a Muslim. That's why we are calling him Muslim, not Bengali. We don't say Bengali Hindu or Hindu Bengali, because it is obvious that every Hindu is Bengali. So in the title that you saw, the Bengali Muslim and Muslim Bengali, there is another identity politics. You can find the title. Bengali Muslim, when the Bengali part is more emphasized than later on the Muslim part. And the Muslim, first Muslim, then secondly Bengali. Muslim part is more emphasized. What is the reality or what is the fact? There is a poem by Shamsur Rahman, who was one of the greatest modern Bengali poets. So he talked about in one of his poems, talked about the coexistence and the diverse nature of Bengali identities. He mentions Jai Namaz, prayer mat, and also Tagore's song. What does it indicate? You'll find a Bengali Muslim who prays, who also listens to songs. Sometimes he even learns songs, and he doesn't find it problematic. So Bengali by nation or by race can accommodate these types of conflicting notions and ideas. And that is the greatness in Bengali. That Bengali you'll not find Bengalis as extremists in India, in Bangladesh, in any part. Anyway, so that to conclude what we can say, just with Shamsur Rahman, Bengali, at the same time, as he mentions, that Jai Namaz and Tagore's song, those two things coexist. And also I want to mention Dr. Muhammad Shohidullah's comment that also what he said regarding the Bengali. He says that we are Bengalis is even more true than the truth that we are Hindus or Muslims. And we cannot erase our identity, the Bengali identity, whatever Muslim, Hindu you are. So that's the thing, and that's the conclusion. And I would like to listen to some questions from the audience. Thank you all. Thank you for your patience that you patiently you are there and listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hasan, for your, I must say, you drew a very vast canvas today, and you have done justice to all the points that that is covered by us. I mean, like the topic. So, which is Bengali, Muslim and Muslims in Bengal, reflection of stereotypes. Stereotypes was one very small word that you used, but from there you went on to do a very complex. You give us a very complex, uh, you know, evolving history of the protean and hybridized notion of the Bengali identity, which was, I think, quite well done and commendably done. You also explained to us the origins of the fragmented nature of the Bengali identity as being largely part of colonial policies and antagonism of Hindu majoritarian sections. And also, I think you very idealistically drew a blueprint for a more secular, tolerant, and humane identity, which comprises, I must say, more of a lived reality. I think that is, I think, what was the strength of your paper today, the lived reality of Muslims of Bengal, as opposed to the discursive and textual categories which supersede it. So, I mean, thank you very much for, I mean, I personally, I am a novice to this field. I do not know much, though I have studies, Islamic studies is largely.
Thank you.